Salute. Today, I'd like to add a little bit of hidden knowledge. My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. And this has everything to do with human trafficking, non consensual biomedical experimentation, has everything to do with being a slave and being human trafficked. You know, uh, we we fight and we strive and we ask God and we receive not because we ask amiss that we might consume it upon our own lusts, and because we have no revelation, because we're not drinking pure water, that we continue to flounder about, and fight and fight and fight and prevail not. Okay. So my topic today is instruments of commerce and non-consensual experimentation. We were born into a legal fiction. At birth, we were given a birth certificate. Our mother, ignorantly signed us over as a commercial instrument, and from then on, we were continue to entangle ourselves in a sum, a menagerie of pending contracts to a corporate, an artificial fiction, as federal commercial agents or instruments of commerce. We wonder why, all these fraudulent political figures aren't being thrown in the can. Well, they're just officers of the corporate fiction, and they're exempt from being persecuted because they're merely doing artificially, just like Hollywood, a theater fabrication. They're only doing what their creditors are assigning them to do, and until they're thrown out of office and become a federal citizen, they're pretty much exempt from being trafficked, persecuted under maritime law for their crimes. So we see the creditors of this corporate fiction. Well, we see the crown, very much involved, and then the crown succumbing to the Vatican, and we see the powers that be of a antichrist and a serpent system. And it's no folly on my part to look at, excuse my language there, Baphomet and all the other idols that are incorporated into a fiction. All the gods that they worship that are not gods, and they are not organic, and that seemed, through the occult and through the erection and the display, emanate and invoke the powers that be that we ignorantly allow to viably contribute. So I look at I look at certain laws that appertain and that they create legal fictions, offshore corporations and things like that. Oh, it would appall the American people if they were experimenting, on American citizens. So if they can do it in another country where there's greater liberality, why then, and quite frankly, if they can govern that non-consensual experimentation overseas, why then pretty much, they don't have to, they don't have to provide any oversight. And quite frankly, this international conspiracy is going on where foreign corporations are experimenting on citizens from another continent or another nation or state. We look at the creditors that are trying to, streamline their ledgers, and they consider, I mean, quite frankly, wouldn't you, if you were a CEO or a shareholder or a creditor of any kind, that have vested a huge deposit of securities or bonds, that you would think that you should have some kind of say-so as far as how to streamline the books. And so China being one of the largest, and you can do your research and find out who all these creditors are. And quite frankly, if the Vatican is holding your birth certificate and trading it, because like Obama said, that you're too small-minded to govern your own affairs. Okay, and because you're incompetent, right, as a beneficiary, they put trustees, and the benefactor says, oh, no, he's still artificial. He's a fabrication. He's a legal fiction. He's our property. I have the deed. He gets privileges. He has no rights. And if he violates those privileges, all the laws and ordinances and statutes, etc., that govern this whole theater, this fabricated theater of horseshit, why then we can trade him. We can experiment on him. Yeah, that's right. And if they're too old and quite frankly, they're worthless eaters and they're not contributing anymore, they're just sucking revenues out of our pocket. And quite frankly, if we can't, bleed them dry, you know what? If we can't make money on them, through the penal system, a reward of bond money, to however and how many we can incarcerate, bleed them dry through the bar association or the medical, the medical field or the psychiatric field or the universities through non-consensual experimentation, that were traded across the board, human trafficked, for the love of money is the root of all evil. And this serpent system is about people getting rich, that's right, off of you. Yeah, that's right, a slave, just a pawn. And I told you about the Harriet Tubman movie that the slaves that were on the plantation were worth more than the farm itself. They already own the land and the house and the car and your bank account, because it's all fabrication. It's all under the commercial code. And because you are incompetent and not a son of God, because you wear a mask and you bow down to the golden image, you know what? You're fake as the system is fake. And until you finally realize who you are, God had a special purpose for you in life, and until he opens your eyes and you quit following the leader, you know what? Well, guess what? You can be traded. You can be traded. You are the security of a deficit economy to a legal fiction, to a corporate straw man that is bankrupt. And it's been bankrupt a long time. And that's all part of their blueprint and their design, to keep you in debt and as a surety to the creditors. So they can pretty much do any damn thing they want to your children. They own them too. And until you come out and stand up and be who God designed you to be, you will not be able to redeem or ransom your children. And even if you don't, because quite frankly, you are what you say you are based on admission and refusing to take the benefit, and through your admission and declaration, there is a very huge argument, whether that be in heaven as well as here on earth. I always wondered why the church, when they became persecuted, the first century church, after Jesus died, that the church scattered, and they were scattered into the four winds, to the four corners of the earth. But the apostles stayed. They stayed there in Jerusalem. You know, they left their houses and families and businesses to be sent out because of the grace that God gave them, and they didn't have to flee. And I wondered, for how in the world, why didn't they flee? Well, it's kind of a jurisdiction issue, and if the serpent system, Rome, couldn't establish jurisdiction and authority over them, well, then they were going to have a difficult legal time, incarcerating them or putting them in iron. Eventually, they'll figure out a way how to do that, either whether they do it by fraud or do it through lawlessness. Because whoever says that it's better to serve God than to serve man is an adversary to an artificial system. Because these old boys are throwing down and they're turning the world upside down. Call them insurgents, call them terrorists, call them whatever the hell you want to call them. But they're on the front lines. They are generals, they're colonels over the church, and the church had to flee because there was a jurisdiction issue. Get me? Do you get me? And as soon as I lay down, I'm going to go, I wish I had told them this and I wish I had told them that. But you know what? Since they own you, how can you fight against them until you figure out that God has the key to death and hell? And once you're alive, wow, oh, death, where is thy sting? Can you slap me harder? I love it. Hey, hit me harder. You swing like a bitch. Like a little frickin' girl. You know what? Is that all you got? Hey, love you, baby. I love all of you. Come and let's reason together. You know what? God has a plan for us. Trust him. All right? Trust him.